my life. I've been a conspiracy scientist my whole life. Okay. No, I was a conspiracy theorist for 38 years. I've been a conspiracy scientist for an additional 3. I've upgraded. Hello!
How did you get 300,000 plus followers?
How did I get 328,000 subscribers on YouTube? That's a great question. It's growing every single day. I think it's because people are looking for the truth. They're looking for information they don't find in other platforms. And I talk about so many different things. I get my hands dirty. Just a couple days ago, I was underneath some power wires for about an hour to test the levels of radiation. And oh my gosh, by the time I left there, my fingers were tingling, my head hurt, my stomach hurt, I was aggravated. But I was on scene. I was showing people real truth about what's around them. That's probably why. Plus, I'm kind of crazy, so people like to watch crazy.
Awesome.
Awesome. That was awesome. flying saucer. I just got abducted by Elizabeth. What's up?
What's up, Rex?
Just living it, you know. This is awesome. Are you having fun?
I'm having so much fun.
Man. So, ancient aliens or ancient civilization of previous history is about 2 hours from here. I discovered it. Giant geoglyphs that look like the Nazca lines. They look very similar to the Nazca geoglyphs. But guess what? They're in California. They're 2 hours from here. I lost my drone. I got the footage. The footage is mind-blowing. And then there's another conspiracy behind a possible cover-up of these geoglyphs.
Crazy.
It's crazy.
So crazy.
And I want you to do like a channeling. Maybe we
Yeah.
can find out what's out there.
Absolutely.
I think it's connected to Peru. I think that it's connected to a civilization that went around the world, and they were telling a story that you could see from the air. So they were traveling via air from Peru to California. They're like, oh, there's those people. Let's land there. Because you can see them better when you're about 1,000 feet or more up. They look like a petroglyph from the air.
So, do they look very similar to the ones that are in Peru?
One of them, Ransom even said, looks like something that could be African. It's a big person, but it looks like an African, how do I put it? Kind of like Dogon, almost. And then also, there's one that has like a big spider. Then there's another one that has like a big four-legged animal.
Wow.
And then there's one that that's literally been covered up. It looks like they got a bulldozer, and from the air it looks like a giant eraser where they just like and they just got rid of it. You can't even tell what it is. Well, where Ransom and I were yesterday, and where I was the day before that, it's an area that has all these different roads, but they're not roads. It looks kind of like a slash irrigation system or something. But overall, it made a symbol, and then there was areas that they blew up to cover something up, and there's also areas you can see where they got a bulldozer and tried to like make additional lines so you couldn't see what the original story was.
Wow.
But you can absolutely tell it's from an ancient civilization, and it's also in an area that's magnetic. Okay,
Wow.
so go to Peru, and that area out there is magnetic. And then I'm thinking I'm connected to these ships, to these aircraft that are connected to the magnetics of the Earth, and then that's like their beacon point.
Yeah.
So they're riding the currents instead of using fuel from the, instead of ripping up fuel from the ground. They're connected to these electric currents. That's like, there we are, must land. Hello, Earthlings. We come from Earth 2,000 millennia before. We are the small people. Laser beams. And then the natives are like, wow, look at that. I've got clay pottery. And they're like, where's your clay pottery now? It's evaporated. Anyway, we're friends. We come in peace.
I love it.
Right on. All right.
And I just want to say, for those of you who have no idea who this crazy loony bin is on my channels, this is Rex. This is Rex Bear, live in person. EA, Rex, together. What up?
What up?
So amazing.
It's awesome.
So, if you haven't heard the whole story, basically Rex went out into the desert in Joshua Tree, California desert area, and he took his drone and he basically flew over the desert to try and see what he could find. And you ended up finding.
Sorry,
You
continue.
want to touch the little
I was like, hey man, what's up, buddy? He's like, hey dude, it's like family. I remember you. Billy's at you. It's been so long. Sorry.
Yes, and so he ended up finding the Nazca lines. So believe it or not, this has never been seen before. We've seen Nazca lines in Peru, but no one has ever discovered Nazca lines in California. What he's saying is that it very clearly looks like these Nazca lines have been covered up by bulldozers, by explosions.
In World War II, there was a general that went out there and they did a bunch of testing.
No way.
Yep, I found that out by email. Somebody that told me, okay, everything's real on the internet. You know that, right? Everything. So first of all, I can't confirm this email, but I've got multiple reports that there was a general out there in World War II, I think it was General Patton, that was doing some explosions and testings out there, and they were using those geoglyph sites, some of them, as, oh, let's just launch and bomb on that. Boom!
Wow.
Got rid of that. We covered that up real quick, suckers.
Did you see any of the explosion holes that were created, or no?
No, but what we did see, and Ransom pointed this out, was there were certain rocks there that looked like they had specific grooves in them, like there was something that would put in place, you know, like almost like Lego blocks, and they were blown up. And there was also areas that you could tell that they had bobcats out there that they were trying to like cover stuff up with rocks. And then we also noticed there was concrete possibly out there. And when there was an area that you could see multiple layers of these rocks and cataclysmic events. So it could be thousands of years old. It might only be 2,000 years old. It could be 20,000 years old.
So halfway through filming with your drone collapsed. I mean, it just completely...
Oh, this is great.
So do you think that is related to the electromagnetic...
No, I think that's related to I put a GoPro on top of it. It was additional weight, and the battery it wasn't able to decipher the juice. So it thought that it had 11% battery left. And then, but I will tell you this, the magnetics out there, there's a button you push that says go home. So if you're watching it and you can't see it anymore, and you're like, go home, it's supposed to land back. This thing didn't. It's like magnetic malfunction. So then I'm like, oh crap. So I'm doing my best to bring it back, and I'm getting it coming back, and it's about a mile out, and 11% battery left. Failure. Boom! And that's what happened. So, and then Ransom and then we figured out how to get it back. So I was out there, and I'm like, how the hell are we going to find it? Because it was getting dark. I mean, I was getting lost just trying to find a road that was connected, that was close to some power lines. I was having a tough time seeing that. There were a lot of dirt, a lot of stuff. So anyway, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to get out of here, and then I'll regroup, and I'll go back on the way back home. You know, when I'm heading back to Colorado, I'll see if I can find it on the way back. And the next day, I'm just thinking, no, I want to figure this out. So I YouTubed something, and I figured out how. Gotta love YouTube, especially when you lose your drone. Just look up, how do I find my drone when I'm an idiot? So I looked up how to find your drone when you're an idiot. No, I'm just joking. But I did look up how to find your drone when the power goes out. And there's actually an app on your phone that you can see your flight path. And it shows you the coordinates. So I took the GPS and I converted it so I could put it in Google Maps. It showed the pin on the location. We parked about a quarter mile from it, and I walked up to it, and boom, there it was. It was like a piece of treasure right there.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm talking about. Rex Bear Elite Project, how the heck are you? What an awesome day. I just went to the contact in the desert. I met some amazing people, and I said, you know what? I gotta go back and find my drone. It's been alone in the wilderness, in the high desert for 24 hours, all by itself.
There. And the footage, okay, so here's where it gets really cool. The footage that I got is mind-blowing. When that sucker's droned up at about 400 feet above, you can see clearly that there is civilization, and the remains are just, I mean, it's phenomenal. It's absolutely incredible. And it's all over out here in the desert. Yeah, it's all over.
I'm not surprised, because it's such a big landscape. It would be the perfect place to put a message for humanity, or a message for...
How's it going?
It's going good.
Awesome. We're about ready to go check out the geoglyphs. We're going to connect some dots, see some shapeshifters.
Ooh, been waiting on that.
Want to join us?
Just look at it. This is so awesome. I'll do my best to control the excitement, but this is another eureka moment for me. And we're out here in Blyth, California, the middle of the desert. Nothing's out here but a cell phone tower and giant geoglyphs that you can see from the air. And guess what? Here's a little bit of information. We're looking for Enki's staff. Now, this is a human figure. The human figure is oriented north and south, with its head pointing towards the south. Its arms are outstretched and its feet point outward. It measures 105.6 feet from head to toe. The torso, combined with the arm span, are 91.8 feet wide. It has visible knees and elbows. Earlier drawings indicate fingers and toes and several lines coming out from the head. Could they represent strands of hair atop the head? It kind of looks like the Bart Simpson hair. Their subtle parts of the figures are difficult to discern because it wasn't kept up good enough and people used to drive over this thing. The figure is one of the least disturbed of the group. Is this a figure of the creator? Well, I think that what you're looking at here is a figure of what they saw in the heavens when a major cataclysmic event took place. Major cover-up in the desert? Maybe. Probably. Ladies and gentlemen, Rex Bear Elite Project, how the heck are you? We had an opportunity during the Contact in the Desert to explore the desert in an area called Blyth. And we found these geoglyphs. Some of these geoglyphs are over 109 feet in width, and even, I don't know what the length is on the one in particular, the gentleman that's, the stick man that's holding his arms out. But what's really interesting, folks, is this is on the 33rd degree parallel. And there are a multitude of sites along these routes that show these geoglyphs and petroglyphs in history that were used as testing sites to blow stuff up in the military. The military was like, oh yeah, that's a perfect spot. Let's drop some on that guy, as far as the geoglyph. That's what I'm referring to. So we took drones out there, and we're going to show you some amazing footage. We're going to show you some images, and we're going to connect the dots and talk about the possibilities here. This could be one of the biggest cover-ups of all time in the desert and throughout the Four Corners area all the way into California, the 33rd degree parallel. This is absolutely huge. So let's get into this. Yeah, and some of them, it looks like they even took giant, if you look at it from the air, it looks like there was a giant eraser, but it's probably a bobcat where they're just, going line after line after line after line. And there's also, you were able to connect some dots back in World War II. Now, this one area that I went to, that I first noticed on the way down to Contact in the Desert, it wasn't even on the map as far as being a location of a geoglyph. Check the area out, and then I also found remains of an excavation equipment from probably 70 years ago or even older, but it looked like they were attempting to hide something by adding additional lines and roads and such. But then that's along the 33rd degree parallel as well. Some of these other geoglyphs, what they represent, there's been lines cut through them, like roads taken through them. So a lot has been hidden. However, what we're going to show you now is it's extraordinary. I mean, this could be a civilization of giants. But another thing that's also very interesting to think about is they're only maybe 700 years old. So what we think they were describing are cataclysmic events that happened from the heavens, that happened from space, whether it was the sun or a multitude of comets, meteorites, whatever, some type of nasty space weather. So they were putting this all on the ground for travelers to see. And then it has been covered up. And here's another thing that's interesting to think about, folks. The millions, hundreds of millions of years they tell you these cataclysmic events take to happen. What if they're only a few thousand years? What if sometimes some of these events take place only a few hundred years apart? And so the MFers, those that love us so much because they love us dearly, because they love us like dearly, they just want to protect us and make us think that it's going to be 100 million years before we even need to consider a cataclysmic event, maybe not a year or 10 years or 100 years. Now, with that said, don't be scared. Be prepared. It's good to be prepared, not scared. Ransom, back to you.
All right.
Now, while you're talking, just please continue. I'm going to show the audience here. Now, this is just off of one of the major highways going to Blyth. This is one of the geoglyphs here. And I think it's got a span of approximately 109 feet across. I don't know what the length is. And then if you zoom out here and we go to the right, here's another one. Actually, there's two of them over here. You'll see this guy up here. Now, this is the one that Ransom and I had an opportunity to see. And then Ransom had a drone out there, got some great drone footage of it. You can see you got this guy here. And then now you were saying some people are telling you this could be either a horse.
A horse, that's
or
right.
A lion, but I would say it looks a lot more like a horse versus a lion. Now, let's talk about what that actually means.
Hold on,
let's stop you right there for a second, if I can.
Right,
if it is a horse from that time, let's say this is a horse from the Viking era, about 1300 AD. That means we're going back 720 years approximately, give or take a few years. And that's right about the time. Of, no, I'm sorry, I take that back. I'm thinking of the 770 AD event. If this is from 1300s, it might not be a solar event. If it's from the 770 AD, when there was a major solar event that caused major problems around the world, that's documented around the world, then this could be describing that in a sense. Now, because I'm looking at this guy right here, and he doesn't look like a normal dude. He doesn't look like an extraterrestrial to me. This looks like one of those experiments that were done via Perrot in a laboratory where they took plasma and they made something very similar to that. So let's say, let's say that this isn't a horse. Let's say that this isn't an extraterrestrial. Let's say that I'm just looking at multiple levels here because there's various options. And if if you want to stick with one, that's fine. But I look at all the options here. I look at all the evidence. So if this is showing a cataclysmic event, and this is what they were seeing in the heavens from these plasma bolts and such, so they're writing it down on ground so people could know about it. Let's say this goes back 770 AD to that event. That's less than 1,300 years ago. And the powers that be, those that love us so much because they love us like dearly, they want us to think that there's nothing, don't worry about it. This is only happens once every 10 million years, every 100 million years. But what if it happens every 700 years, every 1,000 years, every 1,500 years? What if there's little cycles and then big cycles of doom in between? So, but what if you can also prepare enough to where it happens, you're in a safe environment, and then you can get out and rebuild? That's what I feel they might not want us to be able to do at a higher level, because it's kind of like a way for them. If you listen to the interview I did with Robert Stanley last night, it's a way for them to kind of get rid of the herd, kind of get the numbers down a bit there. And then they've got the technologies that we've built for them. What are your thoughts about that? And here's another thing that's pretty cool, folks, that I want to show you before I forget. Here, look at this, Inca. Guess where this is? No, this isn't in Peru, folks. This is just down the street from Blyth, Inca, right. California, down the street from Blyth. Interesting. Now, what is this? Whoa! What is this? The Nazca lines? The Nazca lines are a group of very large geoglyphs formed by depressions of shallow incisions made in the soil and tons of swamp gas. The Nazca Desert in southern Peru. Now, it says they were created between 500 BC and 500 AD, and this is just incredible. Inca, Nazca, the similarities, the other side of the world. That's why I was so passionate when I was talking out there in the desert, because I didn't even know as much then as I know now. But I could just sense it. I could feel it. I knew they did cover some things up by what I saw with my own eyes, but I didn't know it was to this extent. And clearly that's why I was so passionate, because it's just so deep. And the Trinity blast site. So let's take this to the next level. It's something, matrix codes are presenting themselves to us, and then we are going out and uncovering this information and the things that happened to us when we went out there. We're onto something here. And it's also kind of a little bit unsettling, because it makes me wonder, are we getting to that point? Is it getting close to another event, which is why we are bringing this information to the table, which is why something is taking us to this, whether it's our own inner selves and connection with source and the quantum matrix or whatever. It's just clearly presenting itself to us on a daily basis. And I think this is really, really important. So I spent, where is this thing? I spent like $85 on a miniature orgonite Millennium Falcon, and I can't even find it now. I'm totally depressed. So there it is. And I didn't need to get this, and then I didn't have enough gas money to get home because I spent it on this thing. So an orgonite Millennium Falcon, and I'm going to pass this on from generation to generation. So, but that is a really awesome Millennium Falcon, though, and I did like the people that made it. So I need to find.
Did they ever pull it back out of the Baltic Sea? I don't know. Did it?
Dude, I knew it. It looked just like it. That 15,000-year-old Millennium Falcon on the bottom of the Baltic Sea. Once again, George Lucas was right. How did he know? I don't know, but he did. And anyway,
whatever happened.
This is from High Country News. And this is from a gentleman that is called the Guardian, the Geoglyph Guardian. And if you look at this image right here, you're going to see the flute player. It looks like this person's playing the flute, and there's a road that goes through it. And then to the right is that image that I showed you in the thumbnail. Now, this won't let me zoom in more. I can.
That's all right. I got it on the Earth, and for some
reason, we got it on Earth. Okay.
It still won't zoom in past the point. It's like they don't want you to look at it that good.
You can see this. You're right. You're totally right, Ransom. You can see this guy down here, and it looks like these roads that go in here, road after road after road after road. They attempted to cover this guy up. You can see, and then you can see the flute player right here. And this is once again high country news. What were you going to say? Anyway, so right here, you can see this is it. Like I was telling you about the giant eraser, right? Does this not look like somebody went out with a bulldozer? So from an aerial perspective, what in the world were they hiding? What did they try and cover up, and why? I mean, was it just somebody's like, look, man, I don't want all these tourists coming around looking at this thing, or was there something out there that was going to tell us something, give us a key to a possible event that could happen in the very near future, and they don't want us to know about it because they want us to think that, you know, the Grand Canyon was created over 1 billion years. I need to find and do a separate article and separate podcast on this. I read it the other day. This was actually when I was going out to Blyth. The original article, the gentleman that found the entrance in the Grand Canyon that had, I think he said 80 different mummies. He said they were all males. He said he thinks they were from a war tribe. And he was talking about statues from India, Eastern statues like Shiva, as well as Egyptian statues and relics, and the amount of stuff he found in there, the amount of rooms, and just phenomenal. And then the way that he got to it was actually boating. He was on a boat, or he was on a raft, not a boat. Yeah, he was on a yacht. He was on a speedboat, one of those cigarette boats, jet skiing in the early 1900s. He was on a raft. He was on the Colorado River, and they had to climb up to it. And he said it was very difficult to get to. So with that being said, my guess now is they probably blew that area up. They probably blew up the entrance, took everything out of there and blew it up. Now, we, if we're lucky, could maybe find something from back in the day, and we could possibly even find the blast site. Get out there. It would just be a trek to get to that location. Would have to do some rock climbing to get up to it and some rafting. But I definitely think that's something to consider if we can get, if it's safe enough and if we can get all the parameters in order. I don't know, man. And also, didn't you say something about there was something that you read on the internet, and we all know everything's real on the internet, folks. I'm joking. Or am I? Yes, I'm joking, totally. I would say maybe 90% of what you read on the internet has some discrepancies to it. Wouldn't you agree with that, about 90%? Another thing to think about, folks, there's over 7 billion people on the planet, and I think everybody feels they know what's going on and knows what's right to an extent. So does that mean that one person's right and everybody else is wrong? Scary to think about. So anyway, or everybody's wrong.
Ooh,
everybody's wrong.
Probably the case right there.
What are we talking about? I just got 5G.
We got lost.
You'd have to put it right underneath.
Yeah, and we could launch it up, and it could do a straight up bird's eye view.
I can do a bird's eye view with that.
Okay.
Just put the
all right, man.
Down.
All right, I just want that
footage.
Down. I want the footage.
We're recording. Look at him. He's crackheading about this ancient.
Give me.
What is it? Look how.
My real addiction is the footage.
preserve sleep. So I got my laptop in here, I got batteries. I got my entire studio in here. I left my radiation detector in Frankenstein, that's my van. But yeah, I can go anywhere. I can do live feeds as long as I got internet or cell phone coverage. I can share it with you. Awesome audience, because I love you.